Right. Welcome everybody. We're going to continue our December 17th Board of Selectmen meeting. It's 6:09. Invite everybody to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up on the agenda, we have public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to make any comments. I have to ask you to come up to the podium and state your name.
Good evening, Humphrey Williams. What I'd like to address is what I've been seeing in the last few meetings, and in particular last meeting, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, apart from the public hearing portion on the, on the no through trucking on Hare Road and all that, the rest of the meeting, I got to tell you, it's probably one of the worst displays I've seen of a public meeting ever. And I think the one before that was pretty close to that too, because it's. And the reason I want to address that is, number one, this is a public meeting. Part of what it is, and I'm not saying anything bad against any of you guys individual, that's not what my point was, but I know there's been a lot of frustration in meetings and that too. But when a public meeting's conducted, the people in attendance here need to understand what's going on in the meeting, and this is also videotaped, and the people on the outside need to understand what's going on. And there were discussions that went on up there because you guys are looking at warrant articles that nobody out here knows. The discussion on the warrant article about Hare Road, everybody had an understanding. For the rest of it, there's a lot of the stuff that you guys should have been dealing with in a private meeting, a non-public meeting. I mean, if you're just going to go back and forth about comments, that you might have with each other, we don't know what's happening. And we need to understand that. It's either that or you've got to present it and let us know what's happening, why this discussion's taking place. Bottom line is we need to record, we need a different approach. If you're going to run, Ryan, you got to step up and at least tell us what's happening on these things, or we got to change how this format's going to be done if it's going to be visible to everybody. As far as as far as what's happening here, the residents of the town want to know. They want to make sure that what you guys are doing is for the good of the town, and they need to understand what it is that you're addressing. I also have one other comment on it, and it has to do with some things that we've seen posted. I know there was talk about the buildings that are owned in town, and one of the things that's in there is in question is about whether or not there's, real estate agent and demolition bids. My comment on that is, okay, I know we got to do something with the property, but where's that money coming from? You guys have had, this is all part of the same type of discussion. You guys have had discussions that we don't know what's happening with. And I've been sitting in the last 4 meetings, and I got to tell you, if I'm confused sitting here, it's going to be a lot worse for people that aren't even here seeing what's going on. So I just like the decorum of the meeting to be addressed that way, so that when you bring up a point, everyone in the room knows what it is that's being discussed. And whether or not, there's something that needs to be moved to another meeting. And I know I'm kind of rambling, I don't really want to ramble. I just want to make sure that we are covering this. There's something that we had from our advocate meeting that I wanted to, Heather, I want to just give it to you, maybe to make copies for somebody to read afterwards. This isn't happening just in this meeting. It seems like there's all kinds of problems with people not getting along in meetings and not being able to conduct meetings. And there's some information here came out from the New Hampshire Municipal Association on how to conduct some of that, and it may help. And we'd like to just try to offer up as much help as we can. Okay? Any comments on, any questions on what I'm bringing up?
Any comments from the board?
No? Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we will continue the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'll close public comment. Next, we'll move on to new business. First up, approval of 2019 holiday schedule. Heather?
The next page, you'll see there's proposed Town of Milton employee holiday calendar. We start off with New Year's Day, January 1st, Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Day, January 21st, 2019, President's Day, February 18th, 2019, Memorial Day, May 27th, 2019, Independence Day, July 4th, 2019.
Excuse me. Heather, can I read those for you? Because I think people are having a hard time hearing you in the back of the room, and I know your voice is going. So, for clarity, do you have a problem?
No.
Is that okay?
Go for it.
Thanks. No problem. I'll start back over for New Year's Day. These are all the holidays for the calendar year. So you have January 1st is New Year's Day. The 21st is Civil Rights Day, Martin Luther King. President's Day is February 18th. Memorial is May 27th. Independence Day is July 4th. Labor Day, September 2nd. Columbus Day, October 14th. Veterans Day, November 11th. Thanksgiving Day, November 28th. The day after Thanksgiving, November 29th. Christmas Eve, December 24th. Christmas Day, December 25th are all holidays that are recognized for the town.
Any discussion from the board? I'll make a motion to approve the 2019 Town of Milton employee holiday schedule as written.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have discussed Casey Road Land Protection Committee warrant article. Karen?
So my name is Karen Goa, and I'm here representing the Casey Road Land Protection Committee. We're a subcommittee of the Conservation Committee. And a lot of you know we have been working for the last several years trying to protect and place an easement on a 79-acre parcel of land over on Casey Road. This past summer, we've been in fundraising mode to fund that process. It's a rather lengthy process, but we've worked on raising personal donations. We've achieved our goal as far as personal donations are concerned. We did apply for a moose plate grant, and unfortunately we heard at the beginning of December we did not get that. A lot of fierce competition out there. It's a statewide, type grant process. We did not get that, so we are short on the amount of funds we need to start the official process of placing this land into an easement. So we're going to go into phase 2. We are approximately 15,000, a little bit less than that, short of what we need. So we're going to kind of take a 3-pronged approach. We're going to start looking to do some fundraisers with business sponsors. We're going to attempt to apply for some lower level type grants. The other 5,000 we are hoping to put a warrant article on the ballot and request $5,000. We don't want to go that route, but we're doing the best we can, and I believe the wording has already been submitted to legal and approved by legal. So we're just, I think all of you have been involved or aware of this project that we've been working on, I think, for almost 5 years now, and it's a great project. Like I said, we're only asking for $5,000. I know it sounds like a lot of money. We hate to go that route, but we're going to work real hard to come up with the other $10,000. So we're hoping for your recommendation and permission to put the warrant article on the ballot in the spring. So, do you have any questions or?
Comment, questions from the board?
With that being said, I mean, if there was a warrant article, if the taxpayers voted to raise $5,000 and the rest of it doesn't get raised,
We'll continue to work to raise it until we get it. There were 2 warrant articles on that property that the town
yeah, I remember
voted.
those. Yep, yep.
So we're committed to do that. I mean, we really, at this point, we will find ways to, it's going to delay the start of putting it into an easement until we raise it, but
Right.
we have to figure it out, and we have to raise the money somehow. I mean, we've raised personal donations with a matching donation. We've raised a little north of 12,000. The Conservation Committee is committing 20,000 to the process. So, like I said, we've got this last 15,000. Doesn't mean we can't apply for a Moose Lake grant again next year, but my understanding is there was only like $1 million available this year, and there was well more than 3 million that people applied for. So, you know. And we're gonna do the research to see if there's other grants available.
So this is to place it into conservation easement. What is it in now?
It's just owned by the town.
So basically you're asking is if we, will put this into a warrant article. Oh. I think burn by. I don't know what you thought. I don't have any problem doing it. I have no problem doing it. I just
put it out to the voters and
let the voters decide.
Yep.
So, I mean, so do we need this in a motion for us to add this as a warrant article? I'll put that into a motion, put it on for the taxpayers.
The Board of Selectmen recommends to put the
Do you want
Casey Road Land Protection Committee warrant article on for, Casey Road Land Protection warrant article for the Casey Road Land Protection Committee.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
To raise and appropriate $5,000 for the town conservation, parentheses, for the town conservation fund, parentheses, to help fund the Casey Road Conservation Land Easement Project, which will place the conservation easement on 79 forest acres of town-owned land on Casey Road in Milton. The easement would be held by the Qualified Land Trust, Moose Mountain Regional Greenways.
Right.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that being said, that's already gone through Walter?
It's gone to Walter, and he approved the wording on it,
Okay.
depending on if you
Thank you.
approve it. The wording is fine.
All right. Next up is Milton Free Public Library and LCHIP grant. Betsy?
I'm doing good news from the Moose Plate. The Milton Free Public Library has received a grant from the LCHIP grant fund for $36,357. And this is to repair and restore the tower in the front of the library.
All right, that's great.
Congratulations.
Yes. Comments or discussion from the board?
Congratulations. I know it was a lot of work.
Hopefully we can find somebody to do the work.
Well, we have a contractor who is on board with this.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Betsy.
All right.
Sorry. The rest of the library presentation is that Betsy has been a wonderful administrator and has hired as her assistant librarian Ruth Gutman, who should be particularly complimented.
Larry, this was supposed to be about the LCHIP grant,
That
so
is exactly what this is about. Ruth Gutman is the assistant librarian who did the work, who prepared the grant that was successful, and that also.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, Eversource contract payment. Chief Gross.
So this was for the Eversource LED project that we did in town, that the board approved the government buildings to do, to switch all of the lighting over in all of the town buildings to LEDs. The total contract for that is $17,018.42, but that's split out over Milton Library, Milton Police Department, Town Hall, truck storage building at the Highway Barn, and then the pole barn at the Highway Barn. Those costs, as of December, will start going into each electric bill. So my thought and my request is that there's money left over in my budget this year. I would like to see the town pay that off so we can start seeing that savings right away from the LEDs starting right now, instead of waiting until we make all of these payments and pay this $17,000 off, because that $146.22 goes into my electric bill every month until that term, until the $6,141.24 just for the PD is paid off.
So yours just the PD?
PD is $6,141.24, but in my opinion, we have the money in my budget. We should pay off the whole thing and see the savings for the entire town. That way we can start seeing the savings right now.
What's the interest rate?
Unfortunately, I don't have the interest rate. I didn't do the contract, so I don't know what the interest rate is. I just know the payments are supposed to start this month in December, and I believe the Public Works Department received the first block of payment requests either today or yesterday or last week. So, in my opinion, I think we can start to see the savings, which we've already seen the last 2 months in the PD's budget. We've seen that decrease already from the LED lighting. It's not like the lights have been shut off more in the building, but we've seen the decrease from just putting these lights in the building. I think by jumping that back up $146 a month, we're going to have to put more money into my budget next year, because at the last budget committee meeting, I pulled that money out. So.
Discussion from the board.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're foolish not. I'll put that in as
So-
motion.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
My only thing is, and it's coming up here in the,
Encumbrances.
yes, and also the RFP is coming up at the end. What is our total? Do we have a total number that we're expecting to be for the end of the year of, between all the departments, money that's hasn't been used for this year's budget?
We don't have a total actual down to the penny figure, but we look like if we do these encumbrances, I'm thinking we have about 450,000 right now. We'll have about 450. There'll be a couple of more things that will come in. I've been closely monitoring that. So I think we'll have about 400,000 left.
So she's saying we're going to have about $400,000
After the encumbrances?
after the encumbrances.
And we're sure that that number is
That's what
accurate.
not only what I think, but also Joanne and I talked about it. That's what it looks like. It could go down to maybe 375, but I mean that's kind of, it's all over the, it's not just from one line, it's different lines.
I can tell you at a minimum from my budget, you're getting $100,000 back.
I mean, I think at minimum, I think it's a no-brainer to do it, as long as there's not
Bottom line.
other things
Yeah, yep.
that we really need, because there are other things coming up here that I think we really need to take care of by the end of the year, so.
Yep.
I mean, it
Definitely.
sounds like we can still take care of those other things, so.
And I guess I'd ask if for some reason you don't pay off the whole 17,000, at least let me pay off the 6,141.24 out of the PD's budget, so that 146.22 doesn't go into my monthly electric payment.
Yep. I mean, I guess I'm okay with it, knowing that
We have that
we
cushion.
have that cushion for these other things. That we better not be spending anywhere near that.
Right.
For sure, so I'll take roll call because we have a motion and we have a second, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to write up a purchase order, and this will come out of my miscellaneous line, just so it can explain what it is the payment for. So when the budget committee sees it, it's in the miscellaneous line. It'll be completely explained as to what the expenditure is. That way they know what the expenditure is.
All right. Already, next up is 2018 encumbrances. Heather?
Yep. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, you did one already for the cemetery trustees, if you remember, for the $35.50. That was for the administrative services of the cemetery trustees. The reason I'm bringing that up is I had a note under my door this morning from one of the cemetery trustees, so I just wanted to remind you that you already approved that one. There was also another note referencing some other figure that was looking to re-encumber money that was re-encumbered, that was already encumbered, but I gave you the opinion from our finance person, we can't touch that. Okay. The next one I'd like to talk to you about is the encumbrance for the 2018 170 Newts Road demolition. I'm looking to encumber $9,000 for the following line items: $1,500 for the demolition of the property, and $7,500 for tipping fees to remove and dispose of property, demolition, and remnants. And I'm asking you to take $72.53 from the TA unanticipated expense line and $17.47 TA professional services line.
All right. We want to do a motion for each one, correct?
I think
Do we
you
wanna-
probably should.
Yeah.
Discussion from the board?
I'm good.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion for the 2018 encumber $9,000 for 170 Newts Road demolition. $7,253 coming from the TA unanticipated expense line, and $1,747 coming from the TA professional service line.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next one is an encumbrance for Milton Highway Department. They're looking to encumber from line 019000039935 road construction article 9837393 2-year non-lapsing warrant article. It's a 2-year non-lapsing warrant article. And then from 01-9001-16 fiscal year 2018 highway block grant SB 38, please encumber $91,492.16 for the Dawson Street, Silver Street project. And I provided you with the backup.
These are not in order, Heather.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But they're in different order than what you have.
It says Milton Highway. Right here.
It's the last one.
Sorry, guys.
Board, good with it?
I'm good with it.
You good? Make a motion to encumber $98,373.93 the road construction article, and $91,492.16 from the 2018 highway block grant.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. What's the next one you have?
Is there anything that she can do so people can hear? I know you're sick and can't get it projected, so that.
I'm trying.
Well, I understand that. Is it something else that somebody can?
You can just read through them.
Want me to just do it? Okay. All right, so the next one is demolition project to encumber a total of $50,000 from the 2018 budget for demolition projects in the town of Milton. We're good.
Yeah, trying to get her so she's in the same order
Yeah.
as we are.
$40,000 from line 014155-210, the health insurance. The balance left will be $4,610.48. And $10,000 from line 014155-215, dental insurance, which will leave a remaining balance of $2,471.17.
We
You wanna-
can encumber that because we did the legal notice this year. I know we have a PO, even if we don't start work yet, because we did the legal notice and put the RFP out this year. I did check with legal on that.
Okay.
Right. Is that another form of a motion?
I'll put that in motion.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I just say something on that?
Yep.
On the just so y'all know, in light of what was said earlier, the demolition projects that we were talking about are all items that we've talked about over the last several meetings of projects in town that need to come down, properties that the town has taken, just so that we're all on the same page. Next one
So,
is,
sorry, before we go to that next one, on that note, we're opening those bids further down. So, we might have to adjust that number. Right?
Maybe. I think you're gonna need at least
If we
that.
haven't looked at the bids yet.
I think you're gonna need at least.
Okay, I just
Some of them
wanted
came in
to.
open. I put them in a sealed envelope.
Okay,
please encumber a total of $1,500 for GISPs. Take the encumbrance, is that right?
please.
Okay.
Just missing it now. There's a typo there.
Well, there's P's, so. Please encumber a total of $1,500 for GIS. Please take the encumbrance from the following 2018 budget line. $1,500 from line 014130-395, TA Professional Services.
I'll put that in a motion.
Second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Checking for typos first. The Planning Department respectfully requests to encumber the following amount to pay for the tax maps and zoning maps conversion for the GIS progress to CAI Technologies. $500 from 014243-395 Professional Services. $500 from 014241-395 GIS Planning Board. And $500 from 014152-395 Assessing Professional Services, totaling $1,500 from the 2018 Conservation Budget, Planning Board Budget, and Assessing Department Budget.
Make a motion to encumber that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The Milton Conservation Commission respectfully requests to encumber the following amount to pay in part for the resolution of an easement, encroachment, and restoration of conservation easement boundary signs. Is that McCagney? Supposed to be McCagney? No.
Keen.
What is
I
it?
don't know who it is.
McEnany? Am I saying that right?
I don't know, Karen.
McEnany Survey Associates, $1,000 from 014243-320, and $3,024 from 014243-890, totaling in $4,024 from the 2018 conservation budget.
Put it in motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please encumber $2,490, sorry. Encumber $249.84 from line 01-4550-630 for books and DVDs for Milton Free Public Library.
Put that in the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Andy? Yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, good.
I did. Whispered.
Please encumber $1,386 from line 01-06-4521-340 Town Beach Contracted Services for security system at Town Beach Panic Button.
Make a motion to encumber that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please encumber a total of $868 for a new desktop computer for the TA, Town Administrator. Please take the encumbrance from the following 2018 budgeted lines. $868 from line 01-4130-741 TA equipment purchase.
Make a motion to encumber that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Please encumber $6,311 from line 01-419-4340 for electrical upgrades to Town Hall.
Make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye. Please encumber $6,600 for fire door at Town Hall from line 01-4194-340.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
And those last two, just for transparency, is to bring the building up to life safety codes, so it's efficient.
Please encumber the balance of $44,100 to be applied to the 2019 assessing contract.
And that's from line 001-4152-396. It's at the top.
Okay.
Make a motion to encumber that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Or these just how the chiefs are. It's like the, I'm not
Yeah,
seeing.
when they
It's free.
whip through these.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing any line.
Yeah.
It's free.
It's about,
So you should have
It's
one
right there,
for
right?
Neptune's uniforms for $1,647.85.
Hang on a second. That's not the water. How much?
$1,647.85
Yep.
for Neptune's uniforms. Those are for winter jackets that are on back order and uniform shirts that are on back order.
How many?
7 winter jackets and then
7 shirts.
2 uniform shirts.
And that's line 290.
290. Yeah, that's uniforms line.
I'll put that in the motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
$300 for Green Street alterations. That's for alterations to the jackets. Once they all do come in, we have to put badges and name tag places on all 7 of the jackets.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead and
Second.
the badges.
All in favor?
Aye.
$179.90 to officerstore.com. That is to purchase one set of rain gear for our SWAT operator. That's coming out of the uniform line as well.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead and authorize the rain gear.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
$67.96 from Officer Store as well. That's coming out of supply line 620. That is for 4 Streamlight batteries. Those are for our flashlights that have the rechargeable batteries.
I'll put that in the motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
one is $1,947 for Axon. That is to replace 3 of our body cameras. We have 3 of our body cameras break, so we need to replace them.
I'll make a motion to encumber that.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is for recreation, for the New England Parks and Recreation Conference in January of 2019, $275.
I'll make a motion to encumber that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that 7,200?
This will wipe out this after we do the rest of it. Oh, this is expenditure. We're gonna do the 7925, which will wipe it out. 'Cause this is-
7,925, okay, because I've got 7,200.
Yeah, that's because we took more money out of this for something else.
Okay. For the European NIAID encumbrance, I would propose that since the money was not encumbered in TPPA, this funding source fights the European NIAID in the Milton Three Ponds, that the amount of $7,925 out of line 014721-899, unanticipated expenses, be encumbered.
Second that.
And just to have discussion on it, this was because when this money was encumbered last year, or thought to be, it wasn't done.
Until January.
It wasn't done properly, so
Right.
it went back to the general fund, so. And the town had promised this to TPPA, so this is just correcting that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that concludes the encumbrances.
No, it doesn't. Highway Department.
We did
That's
that
all I
one.
had.
We did
We
that
already
one
did that
first.
one. That was the last
No,
one that was
okay,
for,
you did that.
okay.
All right, so, it's not 7 o'clock yet, so at 7 o'clock, we're gonna have the public hearing for the no-through trucking ordinance, our second public hearing. Next on the agenda, we have open bids for RFPs. So, and this is the bids for the demo and the bids for the
You want to talk about whether we accept that one,
Yeah.
and that should take us till 7?
for the realtor bids. So, we have 9 bids for demo.
Yep,
This bid here came in after the deadline,
yes,
and that is for demo.
demo. It appears to be demo. I didn't open it, but it looks like it's contractor, so it appeared to be a demo bid.
Okay. And then all these came in time. So, we need to discuss if we're gonna accept the bid that came in after the date or not. So there's a total of 10 bids, correct?
10
There's
bids,
9 in here,
9 in one.
and this one which came in after the fact.
Just for, what's the
Was it postmarked?
postmarked
Yeah.
date on it?
December 7th, it looks like.
That was the deadline. 2 o'clock. I don't know what time it is. Is it
I don't
2?
think it gives you a time on the postmark, does it?
Sometimes it does.
No, I don't see anything there.
I don't see one on this, but sometimes you can see it.
So did it say in there that it had to be postmarked by that date, or did we not specify?
We didn't say that it had to be received. It said it has to be due by the 2 o'clock. That's why lots of people call. I get this.
Well, if it says that it was supposed to be received by 2 PM on the 7th, then I think
It
our
said it
hands
must
are
be
tied.
received no later than 2 PM, so as far as I'm concerned, they didn't meet the
They
deadline.
didn't meet the deadline.
Yep. All right, so the consensus is we are not going to accept that bid.
Correct.
Okay. Really didn't want to get into this, did you?
Go on the other end.
We sealed them off.
You sealed them?
Hence the name sealed.
So, well, some of them came in open.
We have a public hearing at 7.
I don't know if you want to hold off.
In the morning, or?
I don't think we'll get
Christmas
through,
morning.
I don't think we'll get through all of them. We'll have to stop and come back to it. It's either that or we can jump to something else before we start opening
Go
these.
for 'em.
All right. This first one is from Spears Brothers. So, if the board agrees, I mean, I think I'll just read the total figure,
Yep,
or we'll be
yep.
here all night.
Yep.
So the contract price shall be $53,300,
And
and that
that's for,
was Spear Brothers Building and Wrecking.
but for how many properties? Is that all of the properties, or did they list
So they did not list the
Something.
property, but I'm assuming it would be the properties that
RFP.
all
were
of the ones
listed
that
in the
were listed?
RFP.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
The second one's Always Wrecking. I didn't want anyone to get into it either. I need for this letter opener. Feel foolish here.
I'm glad he's not opening presents.
Okay. Pre-demolition survey of properties for asbestos-containing materials. For NHDS, it's $350 per structure, $30 per sample if asbestos is found. And then this bid lists them out individually. We have 565 White Mountain Highway, which is $28,000. 79 Charles Street, which is $10,000. And 1121 White Mountain Highway, which is $16,000.
We went through those again.
Total 54,000.
565 White Mountain Highway, $28,000.
Yep.
79 Charles Street, $10,000. 1121 White Mountain Highway, $16,000.
And what did it say about asbestos?
Collection of suspected asbestos samples, $350 per structure. Lab analysis of samples, $30 per sample.
And then the demo.
So if any asbestos is found, price to be provided as an extra charge, order above demolition pricing.
Okay.
You want to do this, Andy? Gladly.
Wait, but
I'll
what?
gladly give you the pile. Okay. This is Curtis Earthworks. So this looks like our base bid of $123,028. They are broken down individually. 565 White Mountain Highway, $48,890. 79 Charles Street is $27,855. And 1121 White Mountain Highway is $46,283. And this goes into a lot of detail about the scope of work, and there's actually another, so there's a couple prices here, which, I mean, I think what we're gonna have to do is probably sit down and go through
through
these
them
with a
again, yeah.
fine-tooth comb. We have another price, which I'm not sure what the difference is, but I'm sure it explains it. There's actually two more prices of $123,028, and $113,428 for those 3 properties. So we'll have to go through that. So we finally didn't tape them. Oh, they still stuck it though. Do it all Davis, looks like. '79 Charles Street. Asbestos siding included in this bid, total of $12,000. $6,000 required at start of project. Remaining balance due within 14 days of completion. The second one is 565 White Mountain Highway. Then there's a note, if needed, asbestos testing and removal is not included in this bid. That's $35,000. 1121 White Mountain Highway. Asbestos testing is also not included in this bid. That is a total of $20,000. And then 20 Dawson Street is on this, which is a no asbestos testing or removal is included, a total of $12,000. This is New Hampshire Demolition. So this includes 565 and 1121 White Mountain Highway, includes 79 Charles Street and 20 Dawson Street. Prices include removal of debris and approved lead certification. The total is $59,500. The next one is Enviro Advantage, and this is for 565 and 1121 White Mountain Highway, along with 79 Charles Street, and that comes to $135,250. It does not include hazardous material removal. Will price upon discovery if discovered. Next is J. Moore Enterprise. Quote is for the above named project, so I'm assuming it's the 3 properties. That comes to $59,000. It includes asbestos and hazard survey. Next is Pinal Environmental. It is 565 and 1121 White Mountain Highway, along with 79 Charles Street. Cost below includes a complete inspection of each property by a licensed asbestos inspector, $109,200.
The name of that one?
What's that?
The name of that company?
PENIEL Environmental. Next we have Burroughs Excavating for 565 White Mountain Highway, $34,964. For 79 Charles Street, $20,664. For 1121 White Mountain Highway, $24,239. And that completes all of the demo bids we received.
I think the board should get copies of all these and then maybe do some research and maybe have a workshop at a later date.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we still have the sealed bids for Realtor, but I'm going to hold off on opening those because it's 7 o'clock. So it is 7 o'clock. We'll be having the second public hearing of the no-through trucking ordinance. Formal roll call that all selectmen are present. This hearing is to get input from the public on the proposed ordinance. And the proposed ordinance goes as follows. Town of Milton no-through trucking ordinance. Article 1, no-through trucking. Section 1, authority to regulate. The Milton Select Board's authority to adopt regulations is set forth in RSA 41:11 relating to regulations of the use of town roads, and RSA 47:17 VII and VIII, which specifically authorizes the Select Board to make special regulations as to the use of vehicles upon particular highways and to exclude such vehicles altogether from certain highways. Section 2, conformity with signs. No person shall operate a vehicle in the town of Milton except in conformity with the requirements or directives of traffic signals, signs, and devices, and in the manner specified in RSA Chapter 265. Section 3, vehicular traffic restrictions. No through trucking. No person shall operate a truck as defined by RSA 259 115-B, excepting as light trucking as defined in RSA 259-50 on the following streets in a manner that allows the operator to travel from one end of the street to the opposite end as through traffic without stopping for either business or at a resident of that street. The roads are Hare Road, Governor's Road, and Newt's Road, which has a typo. Section 4, waivers. The Select Board shall have the authority in extraordinary circumstances to grant written permission to an applicant who applies in writing to permit deviation from the provisions of Article I, Section 3 of this ordinance, where the applicant demonstrates in the sole and exclusive discretion of the Select Board that the circumstances are unique, the alternative route is unreasonable, and the use of the restricted public highway is in the public interest. The Board shall have the authority to attach such conditions to the grant of the waiver as it deems prudent and necessary. Section 5, penalty. Failure to adhere to this ordinance shall be a violation and result in a fine no less than $250 for the first offense, $500 for the second offense, and the third offense a fine of no less than $1,000. Proposed effective date, January 1st, 2019. So that being said, I will open this up to the public. I will ask anybody who would like to make a comment on this to come up to the podium and please state your name prior to your comment.
Ryan Braze, 278 Governor's Road. Noticed a huge increase of truck traffic coming down Governor's Road, and it's just tearing the whole thing up. I hate to say it as well, they come down there at unreasonable speeds, and if Chief here would like to park in my driveway, I'll feed him lunch. You'll make your quota in one day.
Quotas are
but they're really ripping up the roads, and I think it would be only fair to stop that traffic from coming through, due to the fact that most of these that I see are log trucks, and their destination coming from 75 across to 153 would be Middleton Lumber. Of course, Middleton doesn't pay for our roads, we do. So, that being said, other trucks are okay, like the food truck truck that makes deliveries to the academy down there. They have business. Residents that have trucks that live in the neighborhood. Of course, there'll be a few that have their own trucks that's their job. So yeah, go ahead, bring them home. That's fine. But through trucks, they don't yield. They'll drive the middle of the road. My wife's almost been run off the road twice last year during the winter time. Myself, during this fall, almost got hit by just a random 18-wheeler coming through. It wasn't a log truck, it was just a trailer truck, but still, pretty sure he was headed for 153 as well. So I think they should stop that traffic coming through there, because we're the ones that are paying the price for it, and the roads are absolutely torn up. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for allowing me my input.
Thank you.
So, gentleman in the back was first. Oh,
okay.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead, you want to go?
Go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity. I've been here 40 years, 273 Governors Road, George Cushing is my name. And, you know, I've seen such a change over the years for the better. I mean, I really think our town's putting it together, and I'm pretty happy with the police department and the highway department, maintenance. But I do see a deterioration, especially over the last 8 to 10 years, since we had this new road put in, which we desperately needed. I mean, we were winning the pothole contest year after year, but we're back now. And I think Ryan said it well, the logging trucks, I'll echo everything he said. I walk the roads on a regular basis, and my observations are that the big trucks drive down the middle of the road until somebody's coming the other way, and then they'll fade over. And I think part of that is because the roads are all broken up on the edges there. Because when I walk up past the Mason Road and I'm heading up towards the Short Ridge Academy, they seem to hang more towards the edge of the road. That's an observation, but I see it all the time. And I'm concerned because my neighbor's wife is out walking. I'm not the only one that walks on the streets. And the speeds sometimes are bad. Just the other day, the police stopped somebody, and that happens, and I appreciate that. But the roads are definitely not going to last much longer. Okay, I've been being here a long time. I know what they used to look like. I don't want to go back to that. We need to maintain them, and they're torn up. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'm George Gagney. My wife and I, Patricia, we live at 402 Governor's Road. You can't see our house, it's way up the top of the hill, 700 feet away. But we still hear those logging trucks come roaring down the street. I want to make the point that it's my understanding that the town is responsible for maintaining Governor's Road. And if that's the case, I think we would be well advised to reroute these trucks onto state roads, 153, 75, 16, keep them off our road, and maybe hold down our maintenance costs to a certain degree. The other points that I would have made have already been made by these gentlemen, so I don't have much more to say, except that I agree with everything that they said, and I would like to see this ordinance passed. Thank you.
thank you. Would anybody else like to speak about the no trucking ordinance?
I would.
All right. Andy?
I was the one that brought this forward to this point we're at today, and whatever, I'll echo what everybody has said, is basically we put a lot of money in our roads every year, and they're using it as a shortcut to get everybody here knows it's the shortcut to Middleton Building Supply. If you go back in the minutes, and as a courtesy, I think that I'll direct the town administrator to make sure that, I know how I'm voting. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I brought it up before, as a courtesy, we should have notified Middleton Board of Selectmen.
There's one here tonight.
Oh, okay. And then we also should, as a courtesy, if this passes, make a phone call to a Valley Lumber and to DePrizio's timber sales, if it does pass.
Andy, if you don't mind, before we go down that road, I'll close the public comment, the public
No, and
portion, and then,
about it. And I mean,
okay.
I just wanted
Then
to say
we'll
the
bring it
reason,
back to the board.
But the reason that I did it was to protect our roads and to stop the shortcutting. I mean, you're not going to stop the vehicle traffic going through there. I mean, they're doing any way they can get around it. They're skipping from Governor's up to Hare Road, and the same thing with Newt Road is they're starting to use it to shortcuts to Rochester. So, you know, in light to protect our roads, it was one way of doing it. So,
All right, one more hand up for.
Lynette McDougal. I don't live on these roads, but I respect what you guys are saying. I used to work for a GPS company, and one of the things that they looked for from citizens is rerouting. So you guys might get a hold of some of these GPS companies, because if the truckers are using the GPS and that's the shortest route, they don't know the laws that go along with that. So it's just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Any more public input? I'm not seeing any, so I will close.
You didn't see this?
Oh, no, I didn't, sorry.
Well, I spoke last time, and I just sketched a few things out before I came down. I won't read them all to you.
Just state your name real quick.
I'll leave them over here. It's the same things that have been reiterated. I just wanted to bring up one point in particular. It's two-sided, and it mentions all the things that we mentioned last week and before. It's scary driving on it. Everybody's mentioned that. George and others and women with babies, you know, jog up and down that road. It's scary. It was scary the other day when two large box trucks, not your tractor trailer trucks, passed right at the end of my driveway. Fortunately, I was up in the other end of the driveway, you just can't be looking down, but it was pretty tight going. And when I go out to get my mail, and I'm sure these elders too, if you're out there when those big trucks come along, you just pray that it's not your turn to go. But the one thing that hasn't been brought up that I feel is critically important, and I've been asking and for this for several years, and if you've never come over the mountain and come off the Mason Road, we always call it the Mountain Road, Mason Road, onto Governor's Road, you need to know that you're taking your life in your hands. You cannot see as clearly as you should. The road agent, are you here today? He was last time. He did. I got my daughter to give up some of her embankment, and they spent 3 days removing it for clearer vision to the left, or going south or towards Rochester, and it needs to have some trees trimmed. The owner has no concern at all for anybody trimming those trees for safety reasons. But you cannot, I fear going around that corner. I don't like my wife and my daughter. My daughter lives just up, the first one up on that corner, so she has to. Very dangerous. I think George mentioned to me not too long ago about some incident where he was walking right up there and some of the vehicles were on not where they should have been and so on. And you always take your life in your hands walking on that. What I'm really concerned about, part of the safety, if you pull out onto Governor's Road and there's a car coming, unless you take some big defensive drives and looping, it's very difficult to see the vehicle. A car you might survive, you know, if you get impacted broadside on the driver's side or on the other side, and one of these trucks are coming, you know, they'll be scraping you up. You know, that's how difficult, you know, it's very serious. There used to be a mirror hung up there, one of those reflective mirrors, which worked great. I don't know whether some kids shot it down, knocked it down, whatever. I tried to get another one put up by the town. I offered to pay for it, and couldn't. In fact, I was told by one employee, is you'll never get a sign up there. It was like personal vendetta or something. It was not from the head of the department, but one of the people. You'll never get a mirror up there. That's all I have to say. Except
Thank you.
Obviously in favor of it.
There was a letter given in your mailbox. I don't know if you remember me. It didn't specify one way or the other. If you
So, we received a letter from another resident on Governor's Road, and basically has the same concerns that have been expressed tonight and is in support of the ordinance. So, unless the board wants me to read through it, I think.
I already read it.
Great. All right, I do not see any more public input on this, so I will close the public portion of this public hearing and bring it back to the board now.
I make a motion we accept the ordinance as written. Effective date January 1st, 2019.
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Now,
right.
as far as signage, that's something, get DPW to get signs.
I'll talk to Pat about that and see what he can do and order it.
And then make sure that LaValle and
LaValle, you mentioned one other one I didn't know.
DePrizio Lumber Sales, I think it's separate from LaValle's, plus DePrizio's Garage.
Do you know how to spell DePrizio?
DIP something.
DIP something, okay. Alright.
All right, just want to thank all the public for coming out, and also thank them for the last public hearing.
Thank you for the vote.
And thanks for everybody who attended. So, on that note,
Yeah, sign, we have a legal one to sign, or
You should have one.
Thank you all.
just take this one and sign it?
Just sign it. One in the packet.
Yeah, I'll just
Is
sign
it
it.
only one? Should have missed a copy. I'm gonna get one to Michelle. The binder.
You gonna get water?
Yeah.
Please.
Good drugs. Thank you. That just is Milton's level. You should.
so we will continue with the opening of bids. This is for the Realtor RFP, and we received 3 bids for that.
Thank you.
So the first one is from Lynn Ward.
From who?
Lynn Ward. From, it was for 14 years. Their commission is 6%.
What real estate company is she with? Did she say?
Exit.
Okay.
Peggy Carter, Coldwell Banker, Project broken expenses shall be 5% of net sales. And then if it's sold directly through Cubby, it would be 4.5%, if I'm reading that correctly.
Ryan, are any of these people residents of Milton? Are these people who are bidding?
This is from Cubby, so
So she's
yes.
resident, okay. I don't know if that should
But the
matter,
office,
Where was the first one from? If you want, I can look at that
You
one
can.
and open it.
it's right there. But I guess, I mean, even because if their office is in Milton, they
Right.
could be.
The office is in Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
Pittsfield, okay.
This is from Horning Cormier. And the resident, the Matthew Flathers is a resident of Milton. So the town agrees to pay Horning Cormier Associate Commission of 5% of purchase price. Compensate buyer agent 2 to 2.5% commission of the contract price of the 5% paid. So looking at 5%.
You said they're resident too.
Yes.
This one is not, so.
All right.
May I suggest that we get the board copies of this and you guys can review them?
Right. What do you think?
And then talk
Yeah, I
about it
wanna
at the
see
next
them.
meeting?
All right. Before we move on to old business, just going back to the demolition bids we received. Previously, we set aside $50,000 for that. If we want to take that out of this year's budget, we have to do that obviously by the end of the month. So I don't know if we want to try to have another meeting before the end of the month to come up with a solid plan of those properties and exactly how far we want to go with that, or which ones we want to try for this year, or just stick with the $50,000 that we set aside and have to figure it out from there.
There was one that bid on 4 of them. Is that something we reach back out to them because 20 Dawson?
There was 2 of them that bid on 4 that I captured writing down. I mean, I was
Yeah,
writing
I
as
did
quick
the
as I
same
can.
thing.
I've got 2 of them.
But one of the lower bids
They're both about the same.
was,
I mean-
but included
No, they're
the
not.
4th one. You take the 4th one out, it's going to put us under a $50,000 cap. So
Right.
But we need to look at the particulars on it too to make sure,
You gotta
because
look
there
at-
was some
Right,
with
there
the
was somebody-
testings and all
yeah.
A lot of
that.
factors in these bids.
Right, there are a lot of factors. so-
Right. I think we need to have a meeting before too long.
I think you also have to
To
decide
see.
exactly what you're talking about. You put them out to bid, but the board was not really clear on what they were ripping down. Like in the property on Main Street, White Mountain, are you ripping down the whole building, part of the building? I mean, we bid it for everything, but I know.
it said everything right down.
It
It said
did.
everything on the bid,
But
but
I've heard from 3 of you different opinions on that, so I think you need to really solidify what you're thinking of.
I thought it was pretty cut and dry. It went down to a certain level at ground level, or 2 feet
Right.
below ground
what
level.
it did for the quote.
It did for the quote, but I mean individually you've said different things.
I never have.
I mean, I'm concerned with some things, but I'm concerned with tearing the one downtown completely. But that's my opinion. I think you're gonna end up with a big void there unless we have a good solid plan on what we're doing with it. And the other part of me says, why even take the expense of that? Just get rid of it as is and put stipulations that it gets cleaned up in a certain amount of time. But, I mean, I don't want to get too far off
Right.
track.
I think we need to probably do like a little workshop, get all of this information and get it disseminated to the three of us as quickly as possible, and then have a,
Workshop before the end of the year.
yeah, we're gonna have to.
Do we want to set that date right now so we can move on?
I would be,
Yeah, didn't we have another one we were doing?
No, we rectified that issue. Which Ryan still has to.
So we don't really have much time. Well,
Could I make a suggestion?
sure.
If you're still closing
Can
the
you speak
building-
up, please?
If you're still closing the building early on one of the days this week, perhaps the workshop could be held then.
What does your guys' schedule look like?
This week.
I mean, see that, or we leave it at 50,000 and
and then figure out the rest.
figure out the rest after the fact. But
Yeah,
I thought we had to have a more defined plan to be able to do that.
The reason you can put the 50,000 away is because you had the RFP out and you had a plan to do it. It was planned and bid on before the end of the year. That was the legal opinion. So that's why when I put the encumbrance together, I made sure the RFP was included with it.
But can we still go ahead and encumber more if we meet before? No.
Well, yes, if we
Yeah.
do it before
Before the end of the year.
End of the
If you
year.
met before and if we, make sure we have the money. But
How
we don't
about
know
next
much-
week, Wednesday or Christmas is Tuesday, so yeah. Wednesday or Thursday next week.
That works for me. I mean, I'll make it work.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't-
going to be later in the day.
Yeah, I'm working
Yeah, me
next
too,
week.
so.
What time?
What time can you get here?
4 o'clock.
4.
I can do 4 too. So 4 o'clock on the 26th.
Is it a workshop?
Yep.
So just remember when, in our bylaws, we said we wouldn't make motions in workshops, and we might have to make a motion, so we just need to be aware of that, that's all.
Bless you. Or was that a cough?
That was a cough, but that's
Sorry.
okay. I'm just dying over here.
Bless you anyway.
I
What
need
did
it.
you say, Ryan? Excuse me.
When we did our bylaws and we went back and forth on the workshop and meetings, one of the things we said was, if we were doing a workshop, we wouldn't be making motions. It's our own internal thing, but that's what we said we were gonna do, so if we wanna make a motion to encumber more money, I guess
It's gonna
either
be
we
public.
need to let the public know that there might be a motion made, if that's the consensus of the board, and that's how we're
It's
gonna go
gonna be in
forward.
public
I'm
and-
good with that, I'm just trying to be,
Right.
so we're transparent and we stick to
Yep.
what we said we're doing, so. Okay,
To do Wednesday?
The
Wednesday,
26th.
the 26th at 4 o'clock.
Are you excusing all others, any others, or are you requesting everyone?
Would request that I think we should have a recording secretary here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you available?
I'll make it.
Okay. All right. So, good?
Hmm?
Moving on to old business. First up, review cemetery budget. Heather?
The cemetery trustees met last week, and they wanted to add $4,000 to the proposed 2019 cemetery trustee budget to cover the cost of purchasing Pontum, I can't talk, cemetery management software. They're saying they'll also require the use of $3,000 that was encumbered in 2018. I think I mentioned to you earlier, you got a memo from our finance director.
You can't encumber.
We can't encumber encumbrances, and we couldn't find the encumbrances that were supposed to be. So we're ignoring that sentence, but they, so we're asking to add $4,000 to the cemetery trustees, so they make their budget increase by $4,000 for a total of $31,482.03.
Lost you there. You're asking the 4,000
Yes.
to the 2019 budget,
Mm-hmm.
and that's coming out to 28.
It's just adding 4,000. They will increase their budget by 4,000.
Okay, but I got all kinds of chicken scratch here. I'm trying
So
to
do we.
figure out.
Yeah, we all do. This is, I think, what they gave Danielle last week. So we all got a bunch of the same copies of it. But I'm going with this and the note I got. It was under my door. Add 4,000 to budget. That's what we're going with. This is the Pontum software.
So are we adding a new line?
Two. Yeah.
Two? New line for 4,000. So it brings a total of $31,482.03.
Yes.
Does that sound right to you?
I love the 3 cents.
I want to make sure you have the 3 cents. And then that was just, the next part of it was that email.
Yep.
Okay.
So is the board in favor of this change to the 2019 budget?
And that's to pay the remaining balance of Pontum?
That's what they're saying, because they're thinking they have the $3,000.
Right.
There wasn't.
So now I ask though, is that going to be enough?
No, because they think.
Right.
I was hoping somebody would be here tonight, but they're not, so.
Well, we're meeting tomorrow with the budget committee.
Right.
Can you get all the details on this and have this for us tomorrow?
I can ask for
Because
somebody.
we really need the total amount of what it's going to cost for Pontum, because putting $4,000 into the budget for something that maybe
I think it's
$8,000.
gonna cost, looks like it's gonna cost $7,000.
Well, we gotta find out for sure.
Yeah. 75, I mean, if you look at, this bill looks like it's $7,500. I think they've got 500 in their line, so maybe they need 7,000.
So I think we should table this till tomorrow night, and
Maybe you take this up tomorrow night with them, or I'll look at the information.
yeah, if you can talk to them tomorrow and find out
I'll call
where
them.
they can't get the 3,000, what do they want us to do? What is their proposal?
Okay.
Is the board on board with that?
Yes.
All right, so I know that we have Michelle and Mackenzie. Did I see him here?
Yeah.
There he is. I can't see him behind the podium. That's last on the agenda. We also, I don't know if Wayne's here for the TPPA discussion. Do we want to rearrange this so we can, before we get into warrant, I mean, warning CIP article discussion is probably going to go on for a while, so I'm sure that if these people don't want to stay here any extra than they have to. So is Board, all right if we move to
Yeah.
TPPA 2017 encumbrance discussion first?
Sure.
All right, Heather, you put that on here?
I put that on there. I'm trying to remember why I put that on there.
So I thought we
I thought we took care of it.
solved this in the
Yeah, I thought we
encumbrances.
took care of it in the encumbrances.
We
So
did.
So we're good.
I'm not sure why it's on here again, but we're good. So that's solved. We've already done it.
So you encumbered the 7,923 early. What about the $5,000 that you appropriated, the town voted for 2018?
Okay, do you have a bill for us or anything like that?
I'm gonna turn this over to the numbers guy.
Okay.
Mickey Brindemeyer. I'm the weed man, all right, but he's the number guy.
So yes, we do have an invoice for you tonight for the total of $12,925. That was assuming that you would resolve the 2017 encumbrance problem, which you did earlier, so thank you. And the $5,000 that was appropriated for this year to pay for the Milton portion of our Ian project this year. I think the good news with that is, well, maybe several points. First of all, thank you for the board's continued support on this issue. We know it's important to you. It's important to us and all the folks who use the lake. But also it's going to allow TPPA to put more money from our operating budget this year into our invasive weed fund for future years' use. So that will extend the TPPA dollars a bit further to continue to battle this problem, because as Wayne has explained to you in the past, it's not going to go away in 1 year. It's going to be a continuing effort to keep this under control. So we think this is probably the best case scenario. So Steve Baker is actually the treasurer. He couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to attend. He has the invoice. It happens to be unsigned. I will sign it for him and leave it with you tonight. And then if you have questions, I'll have Steve call and just check into the office tomorrow or the next day to be sure everything's okay.
If I get the invoice, I can cross out the processing part of it.
Right. So thank you again. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to try and answer them for you.
All right. Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I'm good.
Good?
Good.
We're all set, Heather?
I just need the invoice.
Okay. So now I move down to town clerk, tax collector, central deposit discussion follow-up.
I might need you.
Should I just make a copy of this somehow before we go?
All right.
He wants to talk slow.
State your name, please.
All right, so I say let's get started. So we are here to further discussion about the central deposit for town hall. Mackenzie came last meeting, and we received a couple of memos from Michelle. I think we resolved part of the problem, which is actually going to the bank. So all we're on to is the central depository deposit discussion. So I guess I will open it up to Michelle.
I was asked to come here tonight to answer your questions. I didn't. Did you have questions for me?
What's been rectified on the issues with the emails that you had sent out about not wanting to take in the cash and not wanting to, or not having the people available to go to the banks?
I don't know if anyone's been working on it. It was something I announced at the department head meeting, that after the budgets were done, it was perfectly clear that this is not a good year. You'd put a full-time person in my office. The administrative work for doing these deposits is overwhelming. I'm still working on November things in the middle of December, making copies. So, and bounce checks are taking me too long to go find them. I contacted Mackenzie and I contacted Joanne. Joanne also knows about it. spoke to the town administrator in front of all the department heads, let them know, listen, as of January 1st, I can't do it anymore. You guys are gonna have to figure something out.
And as the town treasurer, have you come up with any solutions to the problem?
The problem remains that the central depository should also be the town clerk's office, in a manner of speaking, because of the way the cash comes in and out of the office. To rectify that, we would draw upon additional personnel at town hall.
So
When this was all proposed, this new cash policy, when it was amended, I think it was March or April, right, of 2018.
It was.
I was perfectly honest and clear with the bank, the auditors, the treasurer, the town administrator, that I'm going to need a full-time person in my office. I was honest about it. It didn't happen, and I understand that. Trust me, this is my third year in a row asking for a full-time person. I get it. I'm not as big as a department as the other big departments, and I'll just have to wait my turn.
And the administrative work she's talking about is financially laborious. You know, you want to be accurate. And we do keep multiple copies of everything, so you know it is quite a bit of work, and she has to pass that to me, the accountant, so on and so forth. So
The auditors,
if she can't have it in her budget, that department needs to be supported through the time without the budget.
Well, with this all being said, you know, you're talking about, you know, I brought it up at a department heads meeting. Well, the department heads don't run the town of Milton. It goes through the Board of Selectmen. And the only thing the Board of Selectmen that I've got is just tidbits of emails. You know, I didn't know this was all going to be going on. It's like you're talking about, well, we brought it up at a department head meeting. Well, department heads do not run the town of Milton. The Board of Selectmen do.
Your department head, your town administrator was there at that meeting.
Well, the Board of Selectmen run the town of Milton, not the town administrator, not the department heads, the Board of Selectmen. It should have been brought to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
So this is mushroomed and mushroomed and mushroomed. Now here we are in the middle of December with this crisis that we've been sitting there getting emails for 2 weeks trying to decipher what the heck is going on, where if it come to the Board of Selectmen, instead of trying to do it through department heads and let the Board of Selectmen do their jobs, we probably wouldn't be in this position. So now you're throwing it at us tonight to sort this mess out
When I came
for January 1st.
When I came before you during budget season, even before budget season, I asked for a full-time person in that office.
Correct.
And then you asked me for an explanation of why I needed. The very last thing on the list of the explanations of why I need a person was the additional duty of taking on the cash deposits. Not just cash deposits, all the central deposit, being the central deposit location. That was the very last thing on your list. I can go back this is how I weighed it all out. I could go back to the police department and say, you know what, I can no longer do your civil forfeitures. His is seasonal, it doesn't make sense, it's not cost effective for his patrol officers to go out and serve civil forfeitures. So I didn't take that one off the list. For transfer station decals, I could have refused that too. For beach and boat passes, I could have sent that right back too. The cash policy was the very last thing that's been added to my office, and it's put me over.
We've got, everything I've got from emails state that it is the town clerk's job to take this money in.
No, this was a new policy. The policy was changed in
Based
March
off.
or April. I agreed it made sense that it came through my office. The auditors agreed. The bank agreed.
We are
all in
all else
agreement.
considered, we've been highly advised to maintain.
And that
Central
policy
Depository.
change was based off recommendations from attorneys, police department, auditors.
The only one I didn't speak to was the attorney.
I mean, that's
They
the
all knew
recommendation
that I needed
of,
a full-time person.
but, I mean, you were taking some money in before that.
That's right, I was doing the police detail. It was the only one that I was doing before that. And the treasurer, former treasurer, took that responsibility away.
I just think that we somehow need to figure out how to make that work
I agree.
as
We
the
need to
place
figure
to
out how to make that
be
work.
with what we have for people today. We've been doing it.
No, you haven't been doing it. I've been doing it.
I'm not saying,
Okay.
I'm saying we as the town.
Okay.
When I say we, I mean, we as the town have been doing it for a year,
Less than a year,
almost a year.
since April.
Didn't that go into effect before?
This was after, when we received our new treasurer.
I thought the only thing that-
I believe it was a prior board.
It was prior.
In
It was with the
2017,
previous
there was a
treasurer.
different cash policy where I was not the central deposit location.
But we changed this before the treasurer changed. All that changed when we had the new treasurer was he allowed the delegation of deposits to go to the bank.
I did not take deposits from all the other departments. I did not have to do what the auditors and what the bank is now requiring me to do. This is a new bank. When did TD Bank come on? This was a new bank.
TD Bank.
We're talking about different things here, though. We're talking about two different things. The only thing that, yes, the bank changed, so maybe some of the requirements of what goes to the bank changed, but you were still taking all the money.
No.
The reason we have a central depository is to create a financial foundation for the town. And TD Bank is a part of that because they've used our procedures that we've established together as a town to build our banking system. So at this point, because the central depository is the clerk's office, that is the financial foundation of our town. So everything that we distribute feeds off of that and account for.
I just think we need to figure out somehow to continue doing that and maybe change some other things that happens in your office to relieve you of some of what's going on.
I'm going to respectfully decline. Let's wait until March of 2019 when there's a new budget being proposed.
But I have a hard time with going away from the recommendations from attorney,
I understand.
auditors, the bank, the police department. I do not think that puts the town in a very good position.
And I think we
So that's
all
why I
agreed
think
it
we
made
need
sense
to
that it went through my department.
figure out with what we
Balance
have
$12 million every year.
to make it work. I don't know what the board's feelings are.
Why is it going to change in March for the budget? I mean, what changes? You said it.
I'm sorry,
wait
March
until
of 20, not 19.
Okay.
2020.
And I mean, I find it kind of odd that all of a sudden, right after the budget went through, I mean, I don't think you were very clear saying that if you didn't get a full-time person, I'm not doing this anymore.
I did not want to, no.
That
I
was
do not
never
give
stated.
ultimatums. I do not work that way.
That was never stated when we discussed your budget.
I gave you a list of explaining why I needed a full-time person.
But again,
I don't give ultimatums.
We've
It's
been
not the way I
doing
work.
this with what we have today for about a year almost. We all, before this board with the previous treasurer, there was a meeting that all the department heads were in, and was a lengthy discussion. And we've been doing it
And I've
ever
expressed my
since.
concern at all those meetings. I need help.
So what else can we change in your office? So, I mean, I know we're open, your office is open 5 days a week and a Saturday a month. I mean, when you look at surrounding towns about our sizes, that's a lot of hours
It
for
is a
your
lot of
office to be open. So maybe we could change,
So
Would
you
you
want
be
me
willing
to
to
put a
change
5-day
some of
work
the
week in
hours?
floor? That's what you're asking me to do. Did you see
Again.
how late I was working tonight? Do you know how many hours I work?
I understand why.
I'm
well,
not,
I mean, how
I'm
are-
not
how are
saying,
other
Michelle,
town
that you're not
clerks
working, but I'm just
Making-
saying, looking at
making-
surrounding
right.
towns, similar sizes, the offices of the town clerks is much less than ours.
When I was appointed in 2012, in my meeting with the Board of Selectmen, when they appointed me, they said, are you going to keep your campaign promise that you, when you ran against the clerk before, which was open 5 days a week and 1 Saturday a month? I've kept that promise.
But could
But
you,
you've since been
2012.
elected, so the appointment,
Just because I get elected doesn't mean I should disappoint people.
I'm not saying disappoint people, but I mean, people at the end of the day, there's a cost to that. And that's, I mean, people don't want their taxes to go up. So we need to think outside the box to try to come up with better ways to provide the same services and meet all the recommendations of.
If you close the office one day a week, not you personally, but the office being closed, there's no business, where there's nobody at your windows. So if you close on Wednesdays, so you're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, one Saturday a month. I mean,
which is what the residents complained about back in 2000.
well, unfortunately, it's going to cost the residents.
There will be a cost either way. Yeah.
Aaron?
What about the middle of the day? The 11 to 1 or 1 to 3, so that you're catching the morning people, you're catching the people after work in the afternoon, but you can close during a couple of hours to get the paperwork done during the day that you can't do because of interruptions,
Do you want to
etc.
send my part-timers home?
Can't they help with the paperwork?
Not the administrative.
I mean, if you don't have enough
They're only there
people,
1 to 2 days a week.
If you-
My part-timers only work 1 to 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Each.
So that means you have somebody almost every day you're there.
If I'm not, right, if somebody's not
So-
on training, right, calls in sick, right.
But those, I mean, that's not the majority of the time. I mean, I understand certain times of years are exceptionally busy, like right now, where tax bills are coming in.
what about turning the responsibility of, instead of people running the checks through, having a central spot where they can go in, each department, Public Works, whoever, Recreation, goes in, puts their deposit bag into the safe, whoever the designees
drop
are comes in, removes it, takes the deposit to the bank, and the bank does what they used to do back in the olden days when they scanned all the checks themselves instead of having you do it and
Right.
get the deposit, and doing that.
I mean, when you,
I mean, does that save
And
you
we would
from?
we would have to have someone to account for the money, because the way our financial policy works, it segregates certain duties. So certain people can't account for certain things. So, for instance, if I sign checks, I can't account for checks. I cannot write checks.
Right, but you have a deputy clerk under you, correct? And then aren't there people in town who are bonded?
You're saying to go to the bank? or
Right, just to
account?
go to the bank.
Yeah,
To go,
no, that's.
all they have to do is
yes.
write in, okay,
100%.
picked up 6 bags.
that's resolved though.
Right.
That
yeah,
isn't
right,
the issue.
Right.
The issue is where we're going to deposit it. Money when it comes in for transfer from police, from...
Into a drop safe.
So what happens now is
Denise
each
is-
department flows their money. So, right, the top of the pyramid, Ryan is the clerk, and you are the. You slide
Right.
your money to Ryan. He accounts for that money and sends it to the accountant.
That's
Who then
accounted
accounts
in a
for that
logbook.
money. Right. So we just need someone to accept the funds.
But why can't you do the same thing with putting it in a drop safe? I mean, it goes
But
back
who's
a little
accounting for the-
archaic.
Who's accounting for the money?
Each person that's dropping the money in, and then the person that's taking the money out of the safe to take to the bank. If it's good enough for the federal government, it should be good enough for Milton.
And cut me out as the middle person.
I mean, that saves you from having
work
to.
for
But is that going to fly by the attorneys?
I don't
And
know. I'm
believe
just throwing a suggestion
We also
out there.
had a problem.
It's going to expose us to, it's just simply
It's gonna-
a matter of risk.
Right.
It's going to scale the amount of risk that we have and visibility on our money.
Can I ask the police chief what his thought on?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask? And what would your thought be on
It stays in one central location. I don't.
whether it be in a drop safe or given to Michelle?
Even if it's in a drop safe, just as Mackenzie said, someone has to sign for that.
When they come and they take the money, the bags out of the safe. The people that are depositing the monies into the safe.
But the problem is not each department has a bag, a drop bag that goes in. Some departments have, my department has cash and checks. We don't have a check scanner. The fire department, I think, still has their scanner. No.
That goes back to the old-fashioned thing where the bank actually scans the checks just like they used to back in the olden days when we were kids.
So,
It needs to be accounted for.
can the
Before it
checks,
can be scanned.
if you didn't have to, so you're scanning in all the checks, Michelle?
Mhm.
If you didn't
So what
have to,
happens is, let
if
me-
you didn't, okay.
Do you want to know what happens
Yep.
through the process? Okay. Let's say there's a department that comes to my counter. I have to stop what I'm doing. They've got two kinds of deposits. They have a check and they also have cash. I take the checks. I have to make sure that I'm putting them in the right account because we've made a mistake already with this where the checks got scanned into the wrong account. We also have to make sure that the cash is accounted for. So we have a logbook. We log it into the logbook. Everybody gets a copy of that. We sign off of that. The checks get scanned. There's 3 sets of copies of that. The cash finally makes it to the bank, comes back, has a deposit slip. There's 3 copies for that. Mackenzie gets copies. Things go back to the departments, and then I'm also keeping a copy for the auditors.
And then the accounting gets the copy as well.
So it's not just you come and you drop your money
Right.
off and that's it. There's work involved. If
There's
a
a
check
lot of-
bounces,
a lot of
it took
things
me
to
4
replicate.
hours last week to find a bounce check. 4 hours. It's ridiculous.
I mean, why did it take 4 hours to find the check?
Because the person who wrote the check was not the name of the,
Image.
right.
Yeah. So you get an image when you scan a check to prove that the check, it actually becomes the copy of the check. So once you scan it in, that's the check. That's the other part of it. So you're securing your money in real time. So as soon as we scan in the check's in the bank, it's the check.
Sometimes when we scan
But
the
what
check.
Michelle was saying, it could be Fred on the check, right? And then it's really Joe's check who just gave Fred money.
Or,
right?
no, or is doing the process for Fred. The other problem is too, is sometimes we scan checks, we don't know until the next day that the check was not accepted by the bank because they couldn't read it well enough. That's a pain. I've got to rescan that check. I've got to stop what I'm doing to rescan these checks.
Which,
And
if,
then let the treasurer and finance office know, hey, by the way, just so when you see this, heads up.
the bank was just getting the checks and doing all the scanning anyway, then the onus is on them to prove whether it's Fred or John or Tom or Harry or whoever's names are on the checks.
How do you create the logging of the money?
Whoever brings the deposit in to the, say the chief's bringing the deposit in for the police department. He brings it in, he drops in the drop safe, there's a logbook there, he writes in, blah, 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 because whoever's done the deposit in his office, somebody's doing a ticket, correct?
Correct, but when
So-
we drop it here at Town Hall, who's signing for it when they put it in? the
You're
safe?
dropping it in the safe and you're signing.
So that
You're
that whoever
signing is the
opens
person.
safe can tamper with it.
Then the
And then
person,
the person who dropped it off looks guilty.
put them in
because
lock. Put them in lock bags. They used to have lock bags. Do they still
it's-
do
those
that?
are all- I mean, these are all processes we moved away from to also save costs.
But
So,
instead of fighting it, let's look for a solution to the problem.
Yes, absolutely.
And try and come up with a feasible solution.
So-
Rather than coming up with all the reasons why we can't do it, let's see
Right.
if we can't find some reasons how we can do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we have people that are bonded and can take these deposits to the bank, thus saving, Michelle's office from having to do it, then let's utilize that.
I think in the past, the way the former treasurer did it was she went to all the departments to pick up the deposits. It was between the two of them, that was it.
Right.
So, let me ask this. If the scanning of the check and that part of it, you didn't have to do, Michelle, and you literally just had to take the money and the checks with a slip that's logged that there's X amount of dollars in cash here, and there's X amount in checks, would you be able to do that with
That's
your
easy.
current?
If I didn't have to scan the
And
checks,
didn't
if I
have
didn't
to
have to make the copies, if I didn't have to make sure the deposit slips for the cash got back to the treasurer, that's easy. I could sign saying, yep, that's what you're putting in there.
And the other thing too is I make deposits to the bank for the company I work for. And I go in, I have 3 different accounts that I deal with, 2 savings accounts and a checking account. I bring the deposits into the bank. they give me 3 deposit tickets for
Right.
each deposit that I make.
Right.
There goes the problem of you having to make copies of everything to make sure that they all get. I mean, you know, bring TD in. We'll sit down with TD. Let's talk to them.
This is what the
This is
solution
what TD
is.
came
This
up
is the
This is TD's solution.
what we worked with them on for the past year.
Okay, well, let's bring them in and let's come up with something that's more realistic that's gonna work. I mean, if this isn't working, then let's come up with something that's more realistic.
Why not try and improve the system to make it work as is?
Well, that would be great, but again, it falls back on Michelle having to have a full-time person, and that's something
How many
that's
man
not
hours
in the.
How many man hours approximately a week?
I couldn't tell you, depending on what was going on. No idea.
So is there any way to reduce unlimited man hours now? So
I think she came up with a good solution.
to eliminate them, the work doesn't go away.
All I'd be doing is signing, saying that, yep, these are the checks, this is the cash, put it in my safe, I'm done. Someone comes and picks it up.
We can certainly bring the money to the bank that way. I think it would save us cost on scanners.
I mean, you know, instead of finding reasons why we can't do it, let's find the reasons how we can. If it's a burden.
It's just the
same
business, they're not
system
gonna
without
do
the accounting of the money, it sounds like.
But I go to the bank, like I said, I go to the
That's
bank
what
and
I'm
make the
saying. I
deposits,
mean-
and how
But
That's
you're
what you have a
still
bank
going to be
for.
accounting for the money, right? Because
Well, as long as
it's going to
the
come
sample of
in.
whatever's been collected
It would-
is handed to, you know, say Vanessa or the accountant, and it's accounted for, yes.
But it's
I
going to
cannot
come.
personally account for the money if I'm signing for the money. It's just a segregation of the duty.
So,
How could
But
pay
Michelle would be signing that she got the money
I would only be
And then-
signing that I received these sealed plastic bags that we do.
with
Right.
Right.
the amount of money and checks in it.
Yep.
And that's my problem.
that could be a problem.
So,
I
but
don't count their cash now.
I thought you were supposed to.
No, they bring me a sealed bag with their cash in it.
So, I mean, it partially is being done by the department head. It's just accounted for. So if there's an error, we find it after, but in that sense. But the way because of the way it's being done. So we account for what it is supposed to be. So if the amount shows up differently, we can go back and highlight that. Does that make sense?
It does, but I guess I'm thinking back before you were actually involved, when we had the original discussion and we went through this whole mess. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but I thought the whole point was the money was supposed to be verified when you signed for it.
That was the
So
problem,
it's-
because
that-
we were having issues showing up at the bank where there were issues when the bags went from department to town hall to treasurer to the bank, and then we're coming back, and there were errors either in the bag, the slip, or when the bank counted it, or when somebody else counted it. So there were supposed to be those, that's why we were stopping those steps.
And that's why, but you were supposed, I thought that when it came into your office, Michelle, you were supposed to be counting that and verifying
I
that
get
it
a
was.
sealed bag from the departments. I do not touch people's
So you only seal the cash that you.
cash that they bring. The checks I've been scanning.
So that doesn't that go right back to the original problem we were having? Or am I missing something here?
I don't know, Mackenzie, have you had issues with the bags coming in?
It's being
wrong?
properly accounted for.
But
But
could.
in the event of an issue, that's where the problem lies, which is what has
Well,
happened in the.
ledger, what it's supposed to be. He brings that amount to Michelle. Michelle signs for it. So just as long as that amount does not change in transit, which is what was happening before, because the amounts come back jumbled. But as long as the amount isn't changing in transit, excuse me, we know that the amount is getting from A to B, so to speak, whatever amount that we send out. So if his ledger says $51 and there's 50 in the bag, we're eventually going to see there's a difference here. You meant to put 50 on the ledger. Through the art of reconciliation.
And that keeps my fingers off the money.
Also true. So there's less issues that can happen when they account for the money. It's just when it comes here, Michelle takes an accounting of what she is receiving, and that exact amount goes to the bank. So the amount is never interrupted. It's protected, so to speak. So before, what Chief Krause has highlighted for us is that the amounts go to the bank and they come back and there's a different amount on the slip. that something about that deposit changed or was misaccounted for at one point during that 10-step process. It's not a simple issue, it's complex, it's money, it's the way the town works.
Comments from the board?
I'm commented out right now. I still don't understand if Michelle, short of the check portion of it, I know I just said I was commented out, but I take it back. Short of the check portion of it, if Michelle is not documenting or reconciling the cash portion of it, I have no idea and cannot understand why what I said would not work.
Correct.
I mean, I really don't.
I agree with her 100% because it's worked that way since the town of Milton was incorporated. Now all of a sudden
it's not good enough. It's not, you know, so we need to hire another full-time person or we need to, I mean, it just does not in any way make sense to me.
I mean, the old days, it was Bank East up where J&S Electric that was the bank, the Milton Town Beach. At the end of the day, we put it in a lock bag, pulled up to the night deposit, dropped it in, boom, done.
Right.
That was the way we did the banking. It was, I mean, now you have to drive to Rochester or Farmington, but nothing's changed. I mean, it was, you know, we got, it worked.
I mean, I know it's great for the banks to hire less people and everything, so if Michelle's doing the work of one of their tellers, putting the check through the little reader, the little scanners and everything, then that means half a person less that they can,
to the town.
You know.
I have no opinion on how you want your checks or the cash put to the bank. It needs to be accounted for.
And it would be by putting it into a drop safe, somebody going with a combination, a key, whatever it is to get the little bags that lock and two people have it, whatever. And then taking it to the bank, letting the bank do the work of the...
doesn't offer a lock bag.
Yeah, they don't offer lock bags.
Well, we don't...
I think they said they moved away from them.
Let's go to Amazon. I mean, let's just use the regular bank bags. I mean, whoever we're sending to the bank, they're bonded, insured, and everything else. I just don't understand why we're making a mountain out of a molehill. That's my opinion, and I need some water because I've talked too much.
We can enact whatever policy.
I don't see us getting anywhere here.
I personally agree with Aaron. I think that's the route to do it.
Again, I don't have a problem if the auditors and all the people that have advised us different things over the past year or so that I have been involved.
The reason why we asked for that support is because we were doing it incorrectly. So to go back to the old ways and in essence saying, let's do it incorrectly.
Right. That's what I don't want to get us in
We
a
did
mess.
have a problem.
Like we had a problem.
With that being said,
before.
how are we going to get through this mess?
You have to reinforce that department. You have to commit
To
man-time
reinforce
to-
or have to change some things in that department. Which it sounds like the town clerk isn't willing to change anything in that department right now.
You're talking about reducing hours?
That was an idea that was thrown out, but I would think the board is open to any other ideas.
We can create a new depository, or we can still use the clerk's office as the depository and have someone different account for the money, if Michelle is simply unwilling to do it.
I don't know, I mean, just, I don't think there was one town that the town clerk's office isn't doing this, which I don't understand why we can't get by this with the people we have.
And
Because
everybody understood the help, the additional help that I needed, and they all agreed.
towns
Your
are,
auditors, is that correct? The auditors even agreed that they should have had a full-time person in that
They
office.
said we need 2 people. They said we need 2 people.
A full-time person.
They said 2 full-time people, but we
Right.
just not in the budget this year.
You've gotten comments from your finance department. You've gotten comments from other departments. I mean, from the treasurer. Everybody has agreed, but I can't keep taking on more and more. I can't. I can't. At some point, it's got to stop.
I don't know, I just have a thing for the, I think we should be open to adjusting some
I was
hours.
very open to taking on this responsibility back in March.
I mean, like I said, you look at surrounding towns, and but we can keep going back and forth, and I don't think you're gonna budge, and so.
We just need to have a plan for January 1 if that's where we are.
Yes, and it's quickly approaching.
Yeah, and we have no more meetings, so I'm not coming back on the 18th and sit here and go through this again, so.
So what's the board wanna do?
Does the chief have any other suggestions? Because if there's something wrong, he's the one who has to investigate.
Ultimately, the person who signs for the bag last is going to be the person who is the subject of the investigation.
Correct.
So no matter who is the person who, what department head or department brings it in here, the person who signs for it in this building and signs for it and puts it in that safe is going to be the person who is going to be the person who gets investigated.
So if the town clerk's office signs for it and doesn't count it, that person would be investigated?
That would be the first person we would start with, because that's the last person to have contact with the bag. Because the way the policy works now is, before it leaves my building, 2 people count it. Before that bag is sealed, 2 people count it, sign off on it, it's brought here, it's given to the town clerk's office. Then it's signed for at the town clerk's office, then I get a receipt from the town clerk's office.
And then that money is stored in a holding escrow. Once we have sufficient documentation, I release the money to the appropriate account.
And he gets the appropriate documentation back up when I finally get to it. So he may have to wait. And we're not able to meet the cash policy 2 signatures on when people drop off the deposits. We can't meet that all the time. Sometimes I work by myself.
But I thought that came up when we discussed that, and there were other people in town hall that you could go get to come ask to sign.
At 4:30 in the afternoon, when I do my end of the night deposit, who's here?
But who could be here? Is there anyone open to taking new hours?
I mean, sometimes different people are here. I mean, it just, we can't.
Or do it at 8 o'clock the next morning, or 8:30 the next morning when you open back up. Put it in the safe for the night and do it the next morning.
I think that could be
I
solved.
mean, when it's already all sealed up. Open it up, reseal it.
Put it in the safe. You don't have to seal it when you put it in the safe, I'm saying. Is that,
There's 3 of us that have access to that safe.
Access to the building at any time.
And access to the building. 4 of us, not 3, 4, including me.
A holding safe.
So we need a holding, so we can use the we do have a holding safe now. I just think we need to have a plan. Because in 14 days, it's January 1st.
Well, I think that it sounds like the bank's gonna have to be involved, and there's other people that are gonna have to be involved, and I don't
We can
think
set up
there's
a-
time to have this all ironed out by January 1st. So, Michelle, would you be willing to continue this
If you
in
can
the
give it to
beginning
me
of the
in
year?
writing that this is not something that's going to continue,
And we need to work
We can
for,
certainly set up a workshop.
I mean, I think we should ask the town administrator to work with the treasurer town
Finance
clerk,
officer.
finance office, everybody
Auditors.
to come up
Since
with,
they're the ones who came up with the recommendation of the policy.
to come up with a resolution to this.
Okay, so it's the treasurer, that's you. Town clerk.
I mean, everybody that
Finance.
you have worked with that got to this
Everybody.
point,
Yeah.
And bank, auditor, bank.
Yeah.
Bank.
Financial partnership, yeah.
and come back to the board with a solution.
Okay, see if we can have a meeting to set
Proposal.
up a proposal.
Will give us to December 31st,
I don't think we don't need to be involved in that meeting.
No,
Hey, can't
we're not
vote.
gonna get anybody here before the end of the year, I'm sorry, guys.
No.
But I think we need to get this resolved as soon as possible.
Correct.
Right.
And we don't, doesn't need to be dragged out, but I think by the end of January, hopefully we can come to a resolution. Would that be fair?
I'll ask for a meeting as soon as possible.
I
and see
can
what I
email
get.
Keith and Joanne and get them involved right away.
Yeah.
See where we,
I gotta call Joanne
And
in
I'm
the
happy
morning.
to train
Okay.
if it goes a different direction. I'm happy to help out. Like I said to Mac, I'm happy to help and train anybody to do what I've been doing. I have no problem with that.
I mean, Keith
I don't
can
mind
even-
him
I'm sure
asking.
Keith could even do that,
Right,
yeah.
and I have volunteered that if there's an emergency and a deposit has to be made, if I'm free and I can do it and I've got backup someone in the office, I will go do it. I am a team player, but I don't want to be taken advantage of anymore either.
And arguably, it is a great responsibility, and
Huge.
it's two sides.
all right. So board, all in agreement on this?
Yes.
Then we need to have a meeting.
A workshop.
And
No,
have
they
a-
need to get
They
this
need-
straightened out by the end
I
of
would
January.
encourage a representative to be there. I would, if
I
possible.
think our representative is
Heather,
town
okay.
administrator.
That works.
And then I will report back to you, but I'm gonna send an email first thing tomorrow. I have to talk to Joanne anyways, and see
Mhm.
if we can get this going, and we'll talk and.
I'll reach out to Keith and get him involved. He's very interested to know how you intend to proceed. So.
Yeah,
We are too.
Yeah.
I think we all are. We do have a safe in my office too that's available.
All right,
now.
so it's getting late, unfortunately.
It'll take 2 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a 2-minute break.
Yeah.
All right. We're on a 2-minute recess.
How much do we have left?
Quite a bit.
Just ask for help.
All right, we'll go back to old business. Number 9, warrant and CIP warrant article discussion and approval. Heather?
Yep. So I met with Bruce Woodruff last week and made some changes to the proposed CIP warrant articles, with the corrected figures in there. And I wanted to know if you guys could go through them and approve them so that I can send them on to Walter with all our warrant articles after the ones you sent last week. So we can get these all approved. They've all been, he's looked at the first set, these he's looked at different points, but
I know.
We can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm trying.
I know you are, I know you are.
I'm just trying to say if they could look at, these have been modified with this, with the town planner and the CIP plan. I just want to see if they have the right number in here. If they approve them, I'm gonna send them to the town attorney.
All right, so we have the regular ones, and then we have the CIP ones. Well, I think we had some open questions on the regular ones, didn't we? From last week? We wanted clarification on the bridge one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we wanted clarification on the wording of the junkyard one.
The junkyard one is with Walter. Haven't heard back from him. And the bridge one, we're still
Can't hear you.
Okay, the bridge one is, not the bridge, junkyard one is with Walter. It hasn't got back to me on that. And the bridge one, we're waiting for a final number on that. We will have that. The only other thing is the European NIAID, but since we put it with the CIP one, we're probably taking that off. And the old ones.
And then, did we confirm that if we want to change town meeting, it can only be May, it can't be April?
It is only in May. So that's up to you guys.
So do we,
I
don't,
Okay.
Too late.
I think it's too late,
Okay.
but, all right,
I
so we'll
agree.
scratch that one, consensus of the board.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get rid of that one.
And we're getting rid of NIAID, right? Because it's gone into the CIP.
It's on the CIP.
Isn't there something in the state level that the move a foot so that the
Moderator.
moderator can decide whether the town meetings or voting can be canceled due to weather? Thank you.
Hasn't been filed.
So then we have the Historical Society ones, which we discussed already. And then now that brings us to the warrant articles from the CIP, unless there's any other comments on the previous.
What about the newly proposed warrant articles? Is that before the CIP?
These are all gonna get reordered.
So that will have to be added.
The one from, yeah.
Yep, that'll need to be added.
They'll be added in. These are all gonna be-
Before we start the CIP, can I make a statement?
Yep.
Just about every one of these has one line in it, and if this line stays in it, I will not vote for any of these CIPs. And that line is, this sum is to come from the fund balance and no amount to be raised from taxation. I want that line. I totally disagree with it. That was one of the reasons I ran for selectman. It is taxation. The money is the taxpayer's money, so it is being raised from taxation. So I will not approve any of the CIP warrant articles with that line in it. So either that line is removed from all those warrant articles, or
Well, the intent is to say that it's not coming.
I know what the intent is, but it's
That's what it means.
it is still tax, comes from taxation. It's the taxation, the taxpayers have paid for that money. That money came
Right.
from the taxpayers. It's not coming directly out of the taxation. I get that part. The bottom line is that it came from taxation. People paid their taxes, that's where that money came from.
I don't disagree.
All right, so I will not support, if you want to go down through them, and I will not support one article with that wording in it.
So that kind of defeats, that's the whole intent of the CIP.
Well, you don't need to put you don't need to put that line in there.
I mean, maybe we can't.
Can I make this part of
Sorry, no, we don't take public comment till the end. I don't know,
What?
can we remove that line, what is legals?
That's part of the
I mean, it's part of the whole CIP,
That's
so.
part of the CIP plan.
I understand that. Yes, you're basically stating that it does not come from taxation. It does come from
But
taxation.
if you go through all the supporting documentation of this, it explains that.
Own door.
Okay. The police chief would like to speak with you. All right, to recognize him? For the board.
I don't have a problem with that, but let me just say this. He did have something to say that has to do with the discussion, and I understand about the no public comment part.
Public comment,
And that, but I think that if a general consensus of the board, if he had something that was legitimate, that was an actual answer to what the question was that's on the floor, I don't see why we couldn't also recognize this gentleman.
I'm just following.
No, I know, but is that-
in there, if the board can
And like I
overrule
said,
it.
I don't have a problem at all. I value the chief's opinion on many things, but is there any reason why, if, as a general consensus of the board, if we couldn't?
I was just following what we did in our bylaws. In our bylaws, we said we would recognize department heads,
Mhm.
and the only time we would take public input was if we were having a public hearing or at the public comment section. So, but also in there, the board can overrule the public comment thing, so if you want to overrule my call, go for it.
I'll second that.
So we'll hear from the chief first, and then we'll hear from Mr. Williams. Thank you.
It sounds like, if I'm wrong, Andy, but it sounds like you only have an issue with 2 words in that in that sentence, not the whole sentence. Doesn't sound like you have an issue with using the unexpended fund balance. It sounds like you have an issue with
Correct.
no
money
to be
that
raised
no
from
amount is to
taxation.
be erased from taxation.
So why don't you just slash the no money is to be raised by taxation?
2018.
Or we could add clarification to it.
I was just gonna say by additional taxation, because that's all it is. It's not by additional taxation. It is taxation, but they're not adding it.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. All right, to recognize it, fire chief.
The wording came specifically from the DRA as draft warrant article, so that may mean it can be reworded differently, but that's why that wording is like that. So if we can eliminate those 2 words and everybody's okay with it, then by all means.
But it might get
But
kicked
that's where it came from. Those words weren't just made up. They came
Well, I
specifically-
understand that, but I mean, I heard it from numerous people to the point where somebody else was going to run for this position because of that statement. So it does come from taxation. Bottom line is that's taxpayers' money. So.
All right, so we want to look into rewording that.
I can ask if, what do you specifically want me to ask? To say by additional taxation? Taxation? Is that, and then C? Is that the easiest one to ask?
Yeah, if you strike is, no amount to be raised from, and then add additional, I think that should just about cover it.
Strike is.
Right, and then in between from and taxation, put additional.
Okay.
Andy?
I'm good with that.
Okay. But I'll go out and ask and get a legal opinion. If they come back and say no, because this gets reviewed by our lawyer, then it also has to get reviewed by DRA. So it might get kicked back, but I'll try.
Could you hear?
Okay. That's good.
I'm trying.
Okay, so how do we want to do a preliminary? Yes, we agree, as long as that wording is adjusted, and then once we get the final wording, we'll actually take an official vote on these?
Yep.
All right. So, first one, the CIP, on this list anyway, it's not necessarily the warrant article number it's going to be, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $325,000 for highway and road reconstruction purposes. Said amount is partially offset by revenues from the highway block grant, estimated to be $134,000. This appropriation will be non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32.7 VI and will not lapse until completed or by December 31st, 2020.
Majority vote required.
Yeah, majority vote required. They all say that. That's per the town.
But hey,
So,
you want to go
the
through
general.
and take turns, let Andy read one, and we'll go back.
No.
and forth?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So we all on board with that one?
You know, you want the first one that we're at, no taxation.
So Andy, you're up. Number 2, or do we all agree with the first one? Preliminary, everybody is on board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Go ahead, Aaron, you're the next one.
No, you are. I want to hear you say it. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $70,000 to be added to the Milton Fire Department Equipment and Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019 through 2024 capital improvements program. This sum to come from the fund balance and no amount to be raised from taxation.
We good with that, except for Andy's favorite phrase in there?
Yeah.
Yes. You good?
Yeah, but how is it going to read?
We don't know, we're just
We're
having a...
Okay, all right.
So then hopefully that's going to be readjusted, and then we can quickly take a vote on these.
And you'll be happy.
You're up.
To see if the town will vote to raise appropriate the sum of $29,000 be added to the Highway Department Special Equipment Fund as previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019 to 2024 capital improvements program. Blah, 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 blah. Majority vote required.
Everyone good?
Yeah.
Yep.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $49,000 to be added to the Highway Department Vehicle Fund previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019 to 2024 capital improvement program. I will leave out the last sentence.
Okay, that just needs a verbiage corrected there in the first line, 49,50,000.
Oh, I knew it looked funny.
Everybody good?
Yep.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the Municipal Buildings Fund previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019 through 2024 capital improvements program.
Everybody good?
Yep.
To see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate $52,000, comma, to be placed in the Milton Free Public Library Capital Reserve Fund previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019-2024 capital improvements program. Majority vote required.
Yep.
Everybody good?
Yep.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,000 to place in the placed in the Town of Milton Technology Fund previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019 to 2024 capital improvement program.
Yep.
Good? Andy, you good with that?
Yep. I said yes. It's just soft.
Just take it after me.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of continued upgrades of the public, I think that needs some changes there, for the purpose of continued upgrades for the public web-based geographic information system for the town as described in the recommended 2019 through 2024 capital improvements program. Yep.
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 That verbiage
There's that
needs to be
verbiage
changed.
needs to be
Yeah,
fixed.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be placed in the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund, previously established for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2019-2024 capital improvements program.
Everybody good?
Yep.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the purpose of erecting the invasive plant species from the town of Milton. This is a special warrant article as described in the recommended 2019 to 2024 capital improvement program.
Should that be
Eradicating.
should that be from like the 3 ponds, not the town of Milton? I mean, I'm just saying.
That's the way it was written for the capital.
Okay.
I mean, from the
Well, and the reason I say that is because I believe that there's another pond
Yeah, that
in
was thinking
town
the
that
same thing
has
as I was reading that.
an issue.
What about the bodies of
Spalding,
water
right.
that have the same
Yeah.
issues?
Right, so,
Well, I mean, if you keep it with the town of Milton, it could be used for any body of water in the town of
Right.
Milton. That becomes a problem, so sometimes.
And
So
that's
just
why it
leave it.
says invasive plant species, so it's not just limited to one plant
Okay.
species. That way if you get milfoil or if you get something else.
and is this just another?
Yeah, I think I got 2 copies of it. Okay,
All right,
so I'll make those changes.
so make those changes and then we'll need to see a final draft
Should
to vote.
Should I make the changes, get them off to Walter, and then get your vote?
I think so, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
get it
that's
to
what I-
Walter first. And check their verbiage too when it comes back.
Okay.
Because I've seen some.
Cool.
All right, so we covered for all our warrant articles that we plan on putting on there?
Unless anybody else has, I haven't seen any.
Okay, next up, department budget updates. Heather?
I have a couple, just after the budget hearing last week. First one is mine. I don't know if you all.
You gotta speak, I can't hear at all.
Okay, I'm trying. Here, the first one I have is mine. In your packet, there was probably, I don't know if you've got the copy of this. The correct number from my total budget should be 305,614.08.
That must be the new stuff that was.
Should be in your packet.
I get 305,822.
No, it's 305,614.08. Did you pick up stuff out of your
Nope,
That's why.
I picked this up Friday
Okay.
or Saturday.
And that's based on salary because you go by the contract, 72,307.55. Because it's 33 weeks at one line item, and then, I gotta do my math here now.
Okay.
I think it's 16 weeks at another line.
It was in our box.
Different figure. In 1 week of buyout, so it's 72,307.55. FICA and Medicare are corresponding at different figures, so it brings it to 305,614.08. So I just need that line, that voted on by the board. It's a little bit less.
Is that the only number that changed, Heather? That went down?
That, the top number, and then FICA and Medicare should have been dropped.
And then here I see it's showing an increase on this form of your budget going up 6.7%, and then here on this form it shows it going up 7.46%.
It should be 6.64% here. It's the final.
Maybe it's one of these two. Okay.
I just need that number approved so I can go from that number. That makes sense.
So is the board good with this?
Is that,
Board good with this?
yeah, I'm good with that.
So we want to make a motion to
Amend.
amend the town administrator 2019 budget to $305,614.08.
I'll
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next budget line item change is the town clerk's request budget should be 124,176. And she made some changes last week when she presented to the budget committee. That is the figure.
So, I mean, that's fine, obviously, it was at that meeting. But I guess my only question would be, now that the treasurer is making the trips to the bank, does that budget need to be adjusted for the mileage, or
I think it was.
is it already adjusted?
It is already adjusted.
Okay. Board all set with this?
Yep.
Yep.
Let's make a motion to amend the 2019 town clerk tax collector budget to $124,176.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same thing with the assessing department. I need the board to amend it to 128,616.38. To the cuts she made.
I'll put that in the motion.
128,616.38.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fire department, 445,029.
Board good with that?
I didn't hear it. Try it again.
445,028.
Yep.
29.
I have 28.
028. Which one's right?
Challenging these glasses. Yeah. I'll put that in the motion.
Which number though here?
445,028.
But it's different on here. I would assume.
Probably a dollar that wasn't added
Said budget
in.
updated. That's 2019 top up on the top line. That's the budget updated.
Yes, I know.
Yes, Danielle.
Can I?
Yep.
So, the equipment lease line is at $1. You have to leave $1 in the line to keep it open. It's not reflected on his printout, but you
Okay.
have to leave it open
Okay.
for future use.
So 445,029.
So I'll make a motion to amend the fire department budget to 445,029.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Highway. There's a couple of typos on that one too. The number should be 652,447.
Board good with that?
What is it supposed to be?
652,447.
What was it?
I've got here 652,547 on one and then 447 on the other. So I'm assuming it was the 547, is that correct?
It was, I believe.
Okay.
But it's 447.
So this hasn't been updated yet then?
What are you looking?
That was printed 12/14.
I'll check mine. Hold on. What?
This, which number's right? Oh no, it is right. 447. We're off a line, right?
Right, the department head request has been updated.
Yeah.
The
Gotcha.
Board of
Right.
Selectmen request has not until you motion for it.
Right, so it's
Yep.
652,447.
I'll make a motion to amend the highway department budget to $652,447.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Last one, I think, is the solid waste. Needs to be 190,285.
And it was previously at 191.85. Is the board good with that?
Yep.
Make a motion to amend the solid waste 2019 proposed budget to $190,285.
Second it.
All in favor?
Are you gonna bring up the issue at the town barn?
Yes.
Okay.
I will do it down here.
We do the default. What? Yeah, there was a change in the number. That line changed that. Did you change the default? It's changed. Okay. So the default should be changed too because there was one line that was contracted. So that a grand total of the default should be $4,563,423.98.
Can somebody repeat that?
Ryan's going to in just a minute.
I think I got it. $4,563,423.
4,563,423.98.
And 98 cents, yeah. Let me say that again. $4,563,423.98 for the default budget. Make a motion that we amend the default budget.
Second it.
All in favor? Aye. All right, that conclude that. So next up is adjustment to town department holiday celebration. Heather?
Yep. Apparently there was a lot of discussion about town holiday celebration, and we're all happy to celebrate the holiday. As you know, the plan was to originally have a holiday party here on Thursday afternoon, close town hall early. Unfortunately, there has been, well, or fortunately, everybody's in a festive mood. They have requested that we actually do close town hall early on Friday because apparently other departments are doing that. And do a holiday lunch, working lunch on Thursday. So I'm asking to change the closing early to Friday instead of Thursday for the approval for the board.
I don't have a problem with
Me either. Andy?
I have no problem with it.
Michelle, because Michelle's open late on Thursdays anyway, so it causes, you know. So, no, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
All right. Next up, other business that may come before the board. Heather?
Do I have anything?
Yeah, you do. Heat.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. There's no heat at the highway barn.
Really, you're gonna let her do that?
Why'd you
Can't
do
you
that,
do
Brian?
it?
There's
I mean, so people can hear.
There's an issue with the furnace at the highway barn. It's been, we found out today that it can't be repaired. So unfortunately, we are going to have to address that as soon as possible. And the Public Works Director is working on that.
At 4 o'clock, we got notice that the heat needed to be fixed, and we need to take action immediately. If you go there, wear your coat.
Do they want my space heater?
All right.
Because my office doesn't have it either.
They were supposed to fix that.
They can't.
Next up is approval of minutes.
I make a motion to accept them as written.
All of them?
I read them all.
That's your fault.
I didn't catch any spelling errors this week. So.
We're not related, right?
we got brown down.
It's touch and go.
All right, so we're talking December 3rd, 2018, December 5th, 2018 Joint Budget Committee, along with the December 11th. Oh, wait a minute, I can't. I have to abstain for one of them because I wasn't there. So you're not going to be able to do that all in one motion. Sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the ones, the
ones that Ryan was at.
December 3rd.
He ran
So
away on the 5th.
December 11th and December 3rd. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain from the vote on the 5th because I was not there.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the joint budget committee meeting on the 5th of December.
I'll second that. Aye and aye.
Aye, aye.
All right. So, moving on. Next up is public comments pertaining to topics discussed on the agenda. So we just ask anybody that has a public comment to please stick to anything that was discussed in this meeting, and also ask that you keep your comment to a minute. So on that note, I'll open that up and I start.
Again, Humphrey Williams, I do want to thank you guys. Today's meeting, a lot easier to follow. It really was, because you at least brought up the items so we understood what was being covered in each of them. And that's kind of what I was addressing, so I thank you for that. That's all I have, and all and happy holidays for everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lynette McDougall. It's old business, number 12 for the town, no, not 12. The one that you guys had today about taking the town hall down to 4 days, stuff like that. Why don't we see all these different towns that have it open for 4 days? Why don't we see what we're lacking or that we're doing too much of, that we can take it down to 4 days? Number one. And number two is, I keep hearing no one can tell us how long it takes to do something. And I have a hard time with that, because I worked almost every job I've ever had. I've had to define the amount of time it takes it, and whether it's a full-time position or not. And maybe we should look at some of our policies and procedures. That's all.
Thank you.
Larry Brown, a couple of quick things. One, my apologies. Betsy did not quite realize that the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Milton Free Public Library was planning to do a twofer. And I just wanted to make sure that Ruth Gutman, who is our assistant librarian, did get thanked for the writing of the grant that we received. Betsy for hiring her, and the continued pleasure of working with Pat Smith and John Catlett for what is now, I believe, the fourth LCHIP grant we have gotten. Sorry, Karen. On demolition, if we were talking about the 200-year-old house right at the corner by Veterans Park, and that is scheduled for demolition, and no way to save it, to sell it to someone for $1. But those are aside. The other question I had.
So Larry, I got to ask you to wrap it up, because you're about at a minute here. So
is policy statute? If it's not statute, is policy addressable in court? If so, who has the right to do it? Bank A, $100 bank charge, no paper copies, no legal lockback.
Larry, I'm sorry, but you're out of time. I'm sorry, but you're out of time, so I'm going to have to.
You have not done a matrix and assessment of your tenants. That's what I'm talking about. If you have another minute, you can find out how to do
it. Thomas McDougall, under the bids that we got for the demolition, I heard at least twice mentioned talking about transparency at your workshop where you're talking about these bids. If you could see in your hearts to record that so we could see possibly spending better than $100,000 to tear some old buildings down. I think the people would like to see your discussions on that. And also, given that there was a 2-to-1 spread, better than 2-to-1 spread in the bids, what was missed? Did we miss something, or somebody charging us way too much? I really would be interested in understanding why there was such a spread in the bids. That was huge. I expected $50,000. I didn't expect 120. That shocked me. The town clerk tax collector discussion. I really wish I could have mentioned this when they were here, but we can't. So this, and just as to Heather, this is a perfect opportunity for something they call Kaizen, which is basically action workout, reducing unnecessary steps in a process. It sounded like there was a lot of steps in dealing with the deposits. There's a number of people in town, I know at least.
Tom, I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap up your comment. Sorry, you're hitting the minute mark.
I would really recommend approaching some people that have done that. It's very, very effective. We've done it at GE and other places I've worked.
Thank you. All right, is there any more public comment? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'll close that. So we have expenditure report, which I think we've been over that, and we'll be going over that tomorrow, so we can move on from that. Next up, administrator comments.
A gentleman came in and would like to donate this to the town clerk. His name, I think, is either Fran or Ham E. Dorr. She can't accept it until the Board of Selectmen accepts it on her behalf. So she asked me to bring this up under my administrative comments that came in today. Can she accept this? Can the Board of Selectmen accept this?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to accept the framed photograph.
It's the
All in favor?
very interesting picture of the old history of the town, so everybody should look at it.
And thank that person for donating that to the town.
My only comment is everybody have a happy holiday season and Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. I hope everybody has a healthy, happy New Year and is safe. So look forward to working with you in the next year.
All right. One thing I kind of missed here, we get the outstanding items. It's been a long night. I'm assuming we're going to leave those tables there. Just wanted to address that they are there. Next, selectmen comments.
Did what everybody else said. Happy holidays. See you tomorrow night.
Yep.
Sometimes in place, right?
Well, gosh, now it's redundant.
It'll really be redundant.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yep. I don't have anything different than anyone else. Just thanks for everybody who attended and hung out. It was a long night tonight, so. On that note, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor?
That's by far the longest.
200.